Thank you, Julia. Welcome to Recovery Dharma, everybody. My name is Josh. I'm one of the facilitators here at Soul Center. Um, the month of April, we're exploring the Fourth Noble Truth. Julia has brought forth uh, Back to Basics Buddhism 2026. And so we're going to be exploring monthly topics that we started in January with the First Noble Truth. Now we've worked our way to the Fourth Noble Truth. Um, and For those of us who are not experienced Buddhist practitioners, um, the Four Noble Truths are summed up essentially as number one, that there's suffering, number two, that there's cause to suffering, number three, that there's an end, and then number four, that there's a path. And Julia has reframed those terms, and that's all available on the website, and for to go deeper. But one of the main things that she's reframed is taking suffering and reframing it as discomfort, um, because suffering seems very grand, and discomfort is something I think everybody, we know we suffer, but there's also this discomfort that comes with being human, that there's a spectrum of unbearable suffering that is discomfort, and then there's the discomfort of, when I put my socks on in the morning and the damn seam stripe goes on sideways, and everything in between. But this month we're exploring the fourth noble truth, that there is a path that leads to the end or the easing of discomfort. And that path is what's known as the Eightfold Path. And I am not an experienced Buddhist practitioner, but I have been practicing Recovery Dharma as my program of recovery for several years now. And as I've been learning about the Eightfold Path, um, it has really proven to be an effective tool for me to move through my life in a way that the more I adhere to the practice, the easier things get. So it's there may be some truth in this advertising. Uh, I took a class recently, about a week and a half ago. Um, that was a peer support group class, and it was led by this psychologist who, for whatever reasons in his life, got interested in that kind of work and left his career as a first responder, um, and became a psychologist, uh, really focusing on uh, peer support and suicide prevention. And he was telling a story about how when he first started getting the inkling that he might want to shift careers, he started looking into going to school and realized, this was no small feat to become a PhD in psychology was going to take him a decade. And so he was relaying this story to us, that he started having second thoughts, and he spoke to a mentor of his saying essentially, I want to do this, but for me to go about doing this, by the time I'm even done, I'll be 45 years old. And this mentor said to him, well, in 10 years, you're going to be 45 years old, whether you do this or not. And when he told me that, told the class that story, I was struck, it was so simple. Um, it made me realize, I reflected on this Eightfold Path and it's, I oftentimes think about this as something that I'm setting out on doing or that I need to bring my attention to be on this path. And it dawned on me in that moment that we're all on a path, whether we want to be or not. There's no way to get off of the path that you're on. Um, Whatever turns, twists it may take, by virtue of being humans in this existence, we are on a path from beginning to end. And who knows what happens after what we call the end, but it just, it's, it's there whether we like it or not. But we're fortunate enough being intelligent creatures that we can make decisions, and these decisions affect our route along this path. Um, and there's the big picture stuff. When I think about my recovery, sometimes it's daunting to think like, is this really going to be a lifetime practice, something that I have to do all the time? I did learn several times the hard way. When I don't, the effects can be a real bummer. Um, but, like they say in the 12-step programs, one day at a time. And in this program, taking things step by step, I can do anything if it's just one step. It's uh, that's not daunting. A million steps is daunting, but if I do one step and it just turns into a million times, that becomes a lot easier for me. Um, so that that idea of having to set off on this path for me has become a lot simpler and a lot more successful if I just do one intentional step at a time. So, thanks. And I was going to ask everybody to join me in a meditation along those along that topic. So first I will get my bowl to sing. And I'll invite all of you to just find a comfortable position. Whatever posture works for you, sitting, laying down, in stillness or in motion. If stillness is available and it feels safe and comfortable, you can close your eyes or lower your gaze. Whatever you do, just become aware of your body and your breath. Take a nice slow breath in and a long breath out. Breathing in and breathing out. Allow yourself to arrive here in this moment. We don't have to be anywhere else right now. Nothing's required of you here except to breathe. Notice the feel of your body, whether sitting, lying, or moving. Wherever it is, notice that the weight is supported by the earth. Whatever you're doing, just breathe. As you breathe in and breathe out, just let the cycle be natural. No need to control it. No need to go fast or slow. Just breathe. While we breathe, as thoughts arise, sounds appear, sensations move through the body, Notice that life is always unfolding. Experience is always in motion. Moments lead from one to the other. Choices lead to consequences. Our attention moves. Our intention moves. Our speech moves. Our actions move. Whether we are conscious of it or not, we are all always walking a path. Even standing still, a path is being shaped. Even avoiding decisions, a decision is forming. And even drifting, habits continue to carry us. There's no blame in this. This is simply the nature of causes and conditions. In this practice, we're taught about the fourth noble truth that there is a path that leads to the end of discomfort, a way of living, seeing, speaking, and acting that brings freedom. And as you breathe, gently reflect to yourself, I am already on a path. Every thought inclines the mind somewhere. Every word plants seeds. Every action shapes my tomorrow. As that reflection settles, bring your attention again to your breath. And with each inhale, feel the possibility of beginning anew. And with each exhale, feel the release of what is unhelpful. Breathing in a new moment, breathing out, letting go. Now, bring your awareness to the mind itself. Notice what thoughts have been common lately. Perhaps worry, judgment, craving, perhaps kindness or patience, perhaps confusion, perhaps clarity. Whatever thoughts have been present in your mind, there's no need to condemn, nor a need to praise. Simply notice that these thoughts are footsteps on a path. Reflect to yourself, if I repeatedly think with resentment, I walk toward suffering. If I repeatedly think with greed, I walk toward restlessness. And if I cultivate generosity, I walk toward openness. If I cultivate compassion, I walk toward connection. And if I cultivate wisdom, I walk toward freedom. Now, reflect on wise understanding. Wise understanding begins by recognizing that actions matter, causes bear fruit, mental states condition experience. We do not control everything, but what we cultivate matters deeply. As you breathe, repeat to yourself, what I practice grows stronger. What I feed becomes powerful. What I neglect weakens. Again, what I practice grows stronger. What I feed becomes powerful. What I neglect weakens. Now consider wise intention. Intention is the compass of the path. Before words, before actions, intention quietly points the direction. As you breathe, ask yourself gently, what intentions guide me lately? To be seen, to avoid discomfort, to protect my ego, to withdraw, or perhaps to understand, to help, to heal, to love. Whatever the intentions, there's no need for shame, no need for judgment. As you breathe, imagine placing in your heart three wholesome intentions. May I act with kindness. May I act with clarity. May I act with courage. Again, may I act with kindness. May I act with clarity. May I act with courage. Now, reflect on wise speech. Bring to mind how words shape our world. Words can inflame suffering, and words can soothe suffering. We can use words to deceive. We can also use words to reveal the truth. Words can be used to divide. They can also be used to reconcile. And as you breathe, ask yourself, before I speak, can I pause? Consider the power even one mindful pause can have before we speak. A single pause can redirect an entire day, can redirect a relationship, a friendship. It can redirect an entire life. Words are powerful. Now, reflect on wise action. Think of your body as a vehicle moving along a path. Where do our actions lead? Toward harm or care? Toward numbness or toward presence? Small actions matter. One patient response, one honest apology, one meal shared with a friend or a stranger, one temptation of habit energy declined, one act of service. The actions may be small, but they are not small in the life of our hearts. They become the road beneath our feet. Breathe in and breathe out and reflect on wise effort and livelihood. Wise effort is not a strain, but a steady tending, like gardeners removing weeds and watering their plants. Wise livelihood with wise effort. Notice in your own mind, can I release what leads to suffering, and can I encourage what leads to peace? Now, reflect on wise mindfulness. Mindfulness is how we notice the path while walking it. Without mindfulness, habit energy drives us. With mindfulness, choice becomes possible. As you breathe, feel your breath and your body. Hear the sounds around you. Notice thoughts arising and passing. All of this mindfulness, this simple knowing, is freedom beginning. Because you know that anger as anger does not mean you need to become it. Fear is fear, and you do not need to obey it. And craving is just craving. You don't need to feed it. Mindful awareness opens space, and the space allows wisdom. Now reflect on wise concentration. Gather the mind gently around one anchor, your breath, breathing in and breathing out. Concentrating on a simple breath, going in, going out. We become distracted, just return to the breath gently and kindly. Each return to that breath is a step along the path. Every time our mind wanders, it's not a failure, but an opportunity to practice. Considering this Eightfold Path, consider all of these as one. We're always on this path. We're not condemned to wander blindly. Through wisdom, ethics, attention, and compassion, we can choose a path that eases our discomfort and leads to less suffering, not only for ourselves, but for all whose lives touch ours. Namaste. Thank you, Julia. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. I'd like to offer a dedication of merit to close us out. May any goodness from this practice guide us on the path of wisdom and compassion. May our thoughts, words, and actions bring less suffering and greater peace. May the benefit of this practice extend to ourselves, to others, and to all beings. And may all beings walk in the path of peace. Namaste.